Good morning, everyone. And on today's show, we're back in the kitchen with Rohan and Nathan. Titus Tomo will give us his frugal tip of the day. Alistair and Andrea are back with, it's Jose, sorry, forgive me, are back with another tech focus, which today looks at streaming services and what you should be watching out for right now. Morning, Gabby, how are you?
Morning, I'm good, thank you, Tom. How was your weekend?
Yes, it was all right, thank you. It was all right. A bit of walking as per usual, and a bit too much time in the sun. I actually burnt myself yesterday because I was a bit naughty. I wasn't wearing the sun cream, so obviously not very good. How about you? What did you get up to?
I saw my mum, which was lovely. Yeah, we didn't hug, but we had a really lovely chat, and it was nice to see her after like 8 weeks, I think.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that was nice. Next up, we have news from New Model Advisor, and today it's brought to us by Will Robbins. Good morning, Will.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm very well, very well. Do you want me to do the news?
Yes, I would. Yeah, that would be great.
Excellent. So this morning, it's a mix of national and advice news. So some stuff about dividends. Government is considering blocking companies who are using its large-scale loan scheme for paying out dividends or buying back shares. This is obviously going to be because we're going to have a repeat of this fairness question. What happened when they bailed out the banks at the crisis? Of course, a lot of firms are going to be using this loan scheme. But of course, as the Sunday Times Rich List revealed at the weekend, so 63 of the UK's richest people have, via their companies, used the taxpayer funded furlough scheme and are likely to draw on this scheme as well, because they are obviously running some of the biggest businesses. And there's obviously, that debate about the social contract, the social fairness of all that, but it's going to be difficult to see what they can enforce. Again, the FCA has done it, and now the government intervening with dividends is quite a big thing. There's a little bit of a headline about the quarantine in the Times and how it won't be lifted over the holidays except for truck drivers. I think it's fair to say don't expect to go on holiday this summer. I'd love to know what your plans are instead. SJP, do you want some SJP news? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
You all said you did. SJP are launching. Have told the FT they're flying a kite, but they've told themselves that said they're launching a passive fund. Whoa, wow, yeah. Now, of course, SJP is sort of like a provider as well. It doesn't really sort of make the funds, but it sort of sells. Hires managers to run what we call segregated mandates. SJP makes a lot of money out of these segregated mandates, which at the moment purely active. I think a report we did in 2018 revealed SJP made £1 billion in fees from its fund range. It's four times as much as the managers who actually run them. So it's all very expensive. We know this, and of course I think that they're sort of seeing how the wind's blowing. And so, they're saying it's because of the scale of the funds they've got, but they say they need a core satellite passive strategy. So it's quite interesting. What really interesting thing about it is that they say it's going to be low carbon passive or have a low carbon weighting. So the thing to get from that is the thing that we think is true, we've written about recently, which is that it'll become increasingly possible to access low carbon but like ESG strategies in general through passive instruments. So there'll be indices that set up. MSCI has some brilliant indices. You'll be able to access it via ETFs and so on. The idea of they are right that the idea of ESG isn't purely the preserve of active management. I think that's quite an interesting thing to talk about. I just thought I'd look at what else is going on in the world, and New Zealand has delayed its own kind of financial advice. So they've delayed its RDR a little bit because of coronavirus. But it was just interesting looking into that, why that's happening. And one of they have like 3 different licenses. Apparently people were abusing their register, but overseas companies were abusing their register. And it's funny to see that go on at the time when the FCA has kind of gutted our own advice register and made it all but completely useless. But I think New Zealand have proved themselves to be pretty practical people in the last few weeks. So good to have a look at what they're doing. The last thing to say is markets are up. a little bit just based on the fact that lockdown seems to be easing, but as we can see, that could change very quickly. And that's it.
Great, perfect. Thank you, Will. What are you looking out for today?
Yeah, well, we're preparing for our next special issue of New Model Advisor. You might find that we don't necessarily get New Model Advisor every week at the moment. Obviously, for understandable reasons, but our special edition's going ahead next week, and it's on international advice. So we've been getting a hold of some CFPs, certified financial planners from different countries, and interviewing them. So it's very exciting. I really hope it comes off. If it doesn't arrive, if you get a completely different issue, then it didn't work. But we're doing that this week. We've had some great responses already from different boards around the world, and hopefully that's going to be an exciting project to deliver next week.
Perfect. Cheers, Will. Thank you. Now we have Tight Ass Tomo with another money saving tip of the day. Good morning, Tomo.
Morning, Gabby. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
Not bad, thanks. Like the other Tom, I managed to go out in the garden, got a little bit rouge, been applying aloe vera for the last 24 hours, but I think I've got over the worst of it. But those of you listened in on Thursday, I've been enjoying my new garden furniture. It arrived. It took me 3 or 4 hours to put it together, mine, but it arrived. And this is a great lesson for anyone who's talking to clients about the way they spend their money. Delayed gratification. I had to wait 6 weeks for this, and that was exciting in its own right, especially in these times. We're so used to getting Amazon turn up at our door the next day. We've not got holidays to look forward to, so just bear in mind those delayed purchases or things that take a while to arrive can actually really give us some well-being. Sorry, Chris Budd, I've just cut across one of your sections, but you know what? There we go. Obviously, I do have some tips today. I've got a couple. One to look forward to when this is all lifted and we next go jet setting across the world. When you go to the airport, try not to put, especially if you're a lady, don't put any makeup on before you go. And don't put any perfume on, and gents, don't put any aftershave on. Because the best way to make the most out of an airport is to get yourself to the duty free and try every single freebie you can. You know, I come out smelling like a teenage boy again, spraying on, I got this aftershave here, this aftershave there, but you're getting your money's worth. So it's important. Doesn't matter if you smell like a teenage boy. But anyway, there you go. There's a tip for when we start traveling again. But my real tip today is something that a friend put me onto, and it's a website called inmylocker.co.uk. And if you're sports mad like me, you might be someone who buys sports kit from time to time. And this particular website is where, and in particular it's rugby and cricket at the moment, where players put their old stash, old training kit or training kit they haven't worn, hopefully, or signed shirts, they put it on this website and they don't make any money off of it because all your proceeds go to some great charities. So if you're looking for a pair of football socks, rugby socks, maybe some new cricket gear, just go on that website, have a look. Some of your favorite sports stars may have worn it already, and your money goes to a charity, and there's some great ones on there. So check it out, inmylocker.co.uk.
Perfect. Thank you for that one. So today's tips were smell like a teenage boy and feel like a teenage fanboy. Is that right?
You know, that's exactly right. And you know what? When sport's back, I've missed it so much. That is the fanboy. I'm going to be all over that. But yeah, trust me, mate, get your money's worth out of duty free. There's no point going there with a face full of makeup when you got free lipstick and free foundation to whack on. Even I try it.
You missed the free alcohol as well.
There you go, Tom. My work here is done.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tomo. Have a nice day.
You too.
Next we have our guest interview, which today is with Next Gen Planners founder Rohan Sivajoti. And he is being joined again by Nathan, who is preparing brunch today, I believe. Hi, Rohan. What are you guys cooking up for us today?
Hi, Tom. I'm good. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, other than the pink skin. A bit like a salmon, and it's clashing with my shirt, so I'm feeling a bit awful about it.
Fortunately, that's a problem I don't quite have, Tom. So At this very moment, I'm going to pass you to Nathan, and Nathan's going to tell us what he's going to be making today.
Morning all.
Morning.
Today we've got huevos rancheros, which sounds more tricky than it is. It's just eggs poached in tomato sauce, and then we're making a Mexican cheese toasty effectively as well.
Oh, that sounds good.
So yeah, so it's going to take him around about, would you say about 15 minutes or so?
Yes.
Yeah, about 15 minutes or so. So should have it done by the end of the show, at which stage I'll be tucking in.
Perfect. That sounds delicious. I still haven't come up with a good name for the restaurant, I'm afraid. I was thinking hard whilst thinking about it, but I've not got anything, I'm afraid. So anyway, moving on towards the interview for you, Rohan. When you aren't fronting a cookery segment on the Morning Commute, you run your own advisory firm, Postcard Planning. What have you most enjoyed about developing your own business?
What did I most enjoy? Wow. Okay. Big thing for me is watching people develop and grow, and the members of staff that have been brought into the firm to watch them over the years, sort of just get to a place where they're just, infinitely better than when they started. Just to see the value that they bring to the business from the complete other perspectives as well. So nothing to do with finance, things like marketing, operations, all that kind of thing. Yeah, mate, absolutely super. By the way, I am listening to your questions. I'm just going to shut these doors because I'm aware there's a bit of cooking noise from the kitchen here.
That's all right. I think cooking background noise is acceptable based on the fact that we're doing a cookery segment. So I think that's acceptable, Rohan. Recently, you added your first appointed representative. What was the thinking around doing that, and how did you find the process with the regulator of doing so?
Cool. So second part of that, the process is pretty easy with the regulator, to be honest. It really isn't too difficult at all. But the reason behind doing it was, I think that there's probably a little bit of a gap at the moment in terms of, I obviously talked to quite a lot of NextGen members, and there are quite a few people who are sat in firms thinking perhaps that they want to take that jump out into the big wide world, do their own thing. But it is a pretty scary jump, to go from that employed environment where you're particularly safe, salary coming in, all of that, to just go bang, directly authorised, there you go, or even jump out and join a network. I probably think it's fair to say quite a lot of the networks don't have the greatest reputation. And I think that some of the network models are not so much focused, well, on the income generation and that kind of thing, but not so much on the entrepreneur and actually building a business. So what I've just tried to replicate a little bit really is more of sort of like an acceleratory kind of thing. So a bit of a sort of coaching segment, whereby so Ben Baldwin joined, I think it was just under a month ago now. We have regular coaching calls, but it's really focused on him building the business and building him as an entrepreneur and a business owner, rather than just what income have you written this month and that kind of thing, because just not that interested in that, to be honest. And it's just a nice halfway house for him. So the eventual plan is that after a couple of years, he has an option whereby he can stay if he likes, or he goes out and he goes directly authorised with all his clients. So it's that sort of stepping stone that people need, I think, in order to go out and create more, high quality financial planning firms.
Fantastic. That sounds excellent. And I'm actually quite pleased to hear that the process was reasonable as well, because typically I know the regulator isn't quick on things like that.
It was all right. They are a bit slow at the moment. They're a little bit behind at the moment. So actually for registering an AR, so they have two different timescales. The regulator, they have like enforced ones, and I think they call like guidance ones or whatever. And the guidance one is 5 working days for registering an AR. This one took 3 weeks. Of course, there was, as per usual, you don't get told where you are in a queue. You don't get told when it's going to be done. But to be fair, when I chased them up, they did then sort it. So I think it was a case of just putting a bit of pressure on from our end.
Fantastic. It's been well documented that the profession needs to recruit more people, and that there's a significant advice gap at the present, with many consumers not being able to access quality advice at a price they can afford. What do you think that the profession can do to bridge the gap that exists?
Good question. Okay, so bridging that gap is, well, I think times like this are going to really help. So I think you're going to see a lot of leaner propositions coming out the back of this, where perhaps overheads aren't quite so high, and therefore there'll be more deliverables to clients that, well, you'd be able to take on more clients pretty much and be able to go a bit further down the rings and things like that. In order to attract new blood and to bring that in, the way I talk about financial planning is threefold to people in terms of having three benefits. One, it's incredibly rewarding work. It is, it's great every day to help people out. Helps, I always talk about amazing client case we've had, things where people come to you and genuinely ill from work and then help them retire and they are better. Like, there's nothing better than that, like helping people with their physical health from financial planning. Incredibly rewarding work. Its flexibility needs to be, I think, aired a lot more in terms of once you, I think, get to a stage of financial planning, you effectively pick your own hours, really. So if you want to work evenings and weekends, you can. If you don't, you don't. If you want to work during the week, you can, whichever. But you can flex that around your life. And that's a huge benefit of it. But the third thing is, we shouldn't be scared of it. It pays quite well. It isn't so bad. There are an awful lot worse jobs to do, and we shouldn't shy away from the fact that it does pay well as well. So I think those three things are the kind of focuses that I'm trying to have when I'm talking to people from outside of the profession, trying to get them to join and things like that. We've got some other stuff going on at NextGen at the moment around second careerists in various industries, and those are really the three focuses that when we're talking to sports people or ex-army or whichever, that those are the things that we're really focusing on.
Fantastic. That sounds excellent. I think, yeah, definitely something that needs to be out there in the public domain, really, for everyone. You're a keen advocate for greater inclusion in the profession. What more can be done to encourage a more diverse range of people to join the profession? Okay,
so yeah, I thought about this a lot because there's like so my old man, so he arrived on a boat from Sri Lanka aged 8. Took him 2.5 weeks on a boat. Someone said he must have rowed very fast, but he didn't row it. And he had a number of jobs, all this kind of stuff. But one of his jobs was with Guardian in insurance. He started as the tea boy there and worked his way up to one of the directors. And that was Guardian before they were bought by AXA, a huge insurance company. And he was the first person of colour in the whole of the insurance sales industry. So within London, within anywhere. And he tells some incredible stories about him, being punched in the face in pubs and all sorts just for the colour of his skin and things like that. But he talks really greatly about the benefits of diversity and the fact that he was always memorable. He used to walk into offices and people didn't expect to see him, and it was stupid stuff like they'd be like, do you want a cup of tea? And they were nervous about asking if you wanted a cup of tea and things like that because they'd never seen anything like it. But he's just like a hugely impressive inspiration, worked and grafted. But he talks to me about role models, and it is about that. He was fortunate there was somebody from outside the profession who he had particular affinity to. But I think in terms of increasing diversity within the profession, I think we're doing a great job on gender diversity at the moment. I think it's, so us as a NextGen board, for example, we have to lead by example. I talk about this, we have to lead by example. So we now don't do any conferences, panel sessions, we won't sit on a panel session, whatever, unless there's female representation. We're not quite at a level yet where we can say that for things like the BAME community, LGBTQ+, that kind of thing, but I think it's getting towards that direction. But we have to create more role models, more people to look up to, really. Because without that, I think it's very difficult for somebody coming from an outside community to look into something and see themselves there. So as much as we can push people up from different backgrounds and that kind of thing, I'm absolutely all for that.
Perfect. I think that leads us on to the next question quite nicely as well, actually. We couldn't interview you without asking about the upcoming NextGen Planners Conference. How are the preparations going for that, and what are you most looking forward to?
It's looking wicked, isn't it? Everyone says curry night, don't they? Is the thing they're most looking forward to. But it's full on, and it's been said before, but full credit to Adam Owen. He's been the real driving force behind it all, really. And it is looking really good. The thing I'm most looking forward to is, again, I mentioned earlier, the thing I really get my kicks out of is watching people grow and watching people get better and better and develop. And that's even in people like yourself and Gabby throughout these radio shows. You know, everybody starts shaky, and then everybody gets bloody brilliant at it, where you don't need us anymore. So I'm looking forward to watching those 30 people speak. The 30 people we put through the training program to be able to deliver content. Because again, the idea is that these people are going to be the guys that are delivering content for the next 5-10 years across the profession, instead of all the same faces. So look, if we've had some kind of effect on that, and I can watch these people grow and get better, then yeah, it's cool.
Fantastic. On that, shall we head back to the kitchen and see how Nathan's getting on, and talk us through the method that's going on, really?
We can do, yes. Nathan, do you want to give us a bit of a overview on the method and what's going on?
Yes. So we've got, if you want to show, a basic tomato sauce going, which has basically got all the ingredients of a salsa in there. So red onion, chili, and tomatoes. And then, well, round about now, we're just going to drop some eggs into there to poach them.
Right, so you're poaching the eggs in the tomato sauce.
So the key with it is that we want runny eggs. So you crack your eggs in. It's on a very low heat. It's only 2 out of 9. And then to get runny eggs, you want the egg on top to cook, but not the yolk. So you squeeze a bit of lime over the top, which helps cook the white, but not the yolk. And then you stick the lid on, so it steams. And then it just takes 3 or 4 minutes, and you get perfect eggs every time.
There you go. Right.
That sounds delicious.
Shortly, I guess, to see the end result.
I'm looking forward to tasting some through the screen over here. It looks so delicious.
Looks good, mate. Looks good.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Rohan. Gabby, what do we have up next?
Thanks, Tom. Yes, that's looking delicious. I'm getting a bit hungry now. Next up, we have Tech Focus for Alistair Walker and Andre Costa. Alistair, what do you have for us today?
Well, we're joined by Jose this morning, and we thought we'd do a little rundown of some things you might want to watch whilst you've got nothing else to do in the evenings. So we were talking about this yesterday, and I said, "Oh, Jose, what's the Netflix situation in Portugal then?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know, never watch it." So we're gonna do a little bit of a mix. Jose, you mentioned that you're a big fan of sort of YouTube and podcasts, so we thought we'd start there.
Yeah. So to my wife's dismay, I don't watch Netflix much. I don't watch a lot of TV, but yeah, I really love like quirky channels on YouTube and podcasts and stuff like that. I'm really always with the headphones on and listening to stuff. So yeah, I usually have some favorite channels on YouTube. And it can be anything really. And what I really love about YouTube is that it's the freedom and the independent format. It's that idea of the wisdom of the crowds, right? That where you don't have to have this huge corporate entity to create amazing content, and you see so much amazing stuff. And now you get some YouTubers who are just doing an amazing living because they're sustained by their audience, and they don't have to have these corporate sponsors and have this really short format. It's long form, so you can really explore ideas. So yeah, I was going to suggest a couple of YouTube channels and a podcast.
Go for it.
Yeah, so a YouTube channel I really love is called the Nerd Writer. So this guy is brilliant at breaking down movies and the editing, and each clip is just a work of art. Just the way that he edits stuff and the way he explains the script and the ideas and the characters. So it's quite fascinating to watch movies that you loved from a different lens, from the lens of a writer. I'm really into cars, like a lot of men, and a channel I love is called Petrolicious. I'll then put this in the Slack channel. So Petrolicious, they also do these very arty clips about quirky cars, a guy that bought this 1960s BMW, and everyone said, "Oh, you should keep it classic," but then he completely transformed it, and people like are amazed. So just the stories about each car is unique and with the person behind the wheel. So I really love that. And then in terms of tech, which I really love also, there's this podcast called A16Z, which is the Andreessen Horowitz podcast. They are the largest VC venture capitalist fund in the world, and they are just brilliant. They cover any vertical that you can imagine from a tech perspective, and it's just the most intelligent people I can think of, speaking about many different topics in industries. So I really recommend that.
Oh well, so that's one film, one car, and one tech podcast. So I feel like I need to come up with something similar. So I was actually going to talk about Bob Chipman, who is my favorite film reviewer on YouTube, because he goes by Movie Bob. You may have heard him speak. He's got a very distinctive Brooklyn accent. But what I like about him is he breaks down films in this really kind of, this guy's cleverer than me and understands films better than me kind of way. And I like watching people who are better at something than I am. But he also really likes a good trashy horror or action flick, and he gets really excited about the action stuff. So we watched this weekend on his recommendation, Extraction on Netflix. So I polled my wife on this morning as well, and Melissa gave it 3 out of 5. I think 2.5 of that 3 was because it had Chris Hemsworth as the lead. So that was most of the score for her. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. If you don't think too hard about the storyline, there's some absolutely amazing shots of Indian cities. Really good stuff. So that's film. Cars. I'm a big fan of the Fully Charged show on YouTube. Well worth a watch. It's all about electric cars. Everything they do is electric. They've got this series about buying an electric car. They've got stuff on electric bikes now. It's got Lawrence Llewellyn, not the changing rooms guy, Crichton. It's got Crichton presenting it, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, big fan of that. And then podcast wise, I was just listening on the way in. Reply All is absolutely my favorite podcast ever. It's 2 great hosts. They just have a good time. They talk about internet stuff. It's everything I want from a podcast. So those are my recommendations. And I think that's just about us on time then. Tom and Gabby, back to you.
Great, thank you very much, Alistair and Jose. Now let's head back to the kitchen one last time to see how brunch has turned out. How's it going, Rohan and Nathan?
Well, that's fine now.
Yeah, all good.
How are we looking?
You got it.
Hold on a sec. Let me just... There we go. Let me try and get that over there.
Oh, that looks delicious.
That looks good. That looks really good. So what's it called again now?
So Huevos Rancheros, which is, ranchero is a tomato sauce. It's Mexican eggs, effectively. This is a quesadilla as well, which is really easy. It's basically a cheese toasty. It's just a hot pan, no oil, tortilla, cheese, tortilla, 20 seconds each side. Wicked.
Thank you. Good stuff. I'm going to have a little taste of this in a second, but I'll pop the recipe into Slack later on this morning. So if people want to have a go at it, send some pictures in. That'd be cool.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, Huevos Rancheros will be on Slack, as Rohan just said. Tom, what do we have on tomorrow's show?
Tomorrow we have an interview with Lee Robertson from Octo members. We have Chris Budd's financial wellbeing thoughts for the day, and it's a Tuesday, so we have Catherine Morgan's coaching focus.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great day. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Have a lovely Monday, all. Bye-bye.